Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me. This week I have the 2020 Jaguar XE sedan, and they did make a few changes to this sedan for 2020. And so in this video, I'm gonna show you guys every single detail about this vehicle. We're gonna check out the exterior, we're gonna check out the interior, I'm gonna take it for a drive, and we're even gonna see what this is like at night. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, you guys, so checking out the 2020 Jaguar XE R Dynamic. Now, if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. That way you always are alerted whenever I have new reviews. Now, starting with this 2020 XE, there are a few changes that Jaguar made for this year. Now, first of all, there are only 2 trim levels now. They also dropped the V6 option and they dropped the diesel option. So the only engine choice you have is a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. I'll talk more about that once we check out under the hood. Now, this color I have is called Caldera Red. It is a beautiful red. It's just really solid, really liquid looking, and it's about a $300 option just to get this paint. Now, there is another red that's about $600, but personally I think this one, because it's so vibrant, really gives good contrast to all the black accents going around this R Dynamic package. Now, this car as is going to be priced around $65,000, and that is a lot of money. As a matter of fact, that is a little bit more than a fully spec'd out BMW like M340i. So can this really offer more than that vehicle? I'll let you guys be the judge of that as we go through this review. Now, they did slightly tweak the front end of this new XE, so you guys can see right here, it looks really good. I like what they did with it, and I just love the way this vehicle looks from every angle. I think this is such a beautiful sedan. Jaguar really is killing it in the design department, and this vehicle is no exception. Now, coming to the front, if you get a little bit closer, this does have a blacked out package to it. So basically Jaguar did a little bit of tweaking to the front end to make it fall in line with vehicles like the I-Pace and every other vehicle in the current lineup. Also, I do apologize for the wind. It's very windy today, so it's nothing much I can do about it, unfortunately. Now, coming through here, you've got a bunch of functional vents. This one right here is going to be non-functional completely. However, this is functional, that is functional, and you also have a little area off to the side that is going to feed air around the front wheel wells, create a nice air curtain, and just help that airflow be as efficient as possible. Now, coming here in the middle, you are going to have your Jaguar logo. You got this nice honeycomb grille with your R Dynamic badge located right there. Now, as far as the lights, they do have this really beautiful slim design. They, of course, have a nice daytime running LED. I think that looks really good. The other thing I like is how this car looks at night. It looks really crisp. You have 100% LEDs around this entire vehicle, so it gives it that really high-end look. And seriously, this is just such a beautiful car during the day and at night. Now, as we move up, you're going to have these really nice crisp lines on the hood. They look great. You guys can see these really thick ones right here, and you've got this really nice, almost muscle car-like cowl going through the middle of the hood, and I think that looks fantastic as well. All right, so coming off to the wheels on the Jaguar XE. Now, this R Dynamic package does have wheels that it comes with standard. These are actually upgraded on top of that package. So these are about a $1,500 to $1,600 option just to get these wheels. These are 20-inch wheels. They look really nice. I think they fill out the wheel wells very nicely, and they're gonna be wrapped in Pirelli P0 tires. These are 235/35s in the front, and the rear is going to have 265/30s, so you have a really nice staggered setup there. Now, coming off to the side, you are going to have this vent located right here. I think it looks really cool. It says Jaguar right there on the side. Can't tell if it's a functional vent, so as of right now, I'm just going to say it's not functional just because I couldn't find anything. If you guys know differently, if you know for sure, comment below. Let me know if it is or is not functional. That will help me a lot. Also, with the R Dynamic package, you get this sort of extended sill that's going to come right down here. So this whole area is going to be added on for the R Dynamic package, it adds a really nice look to it, and it just makes it have a little bit of a wider stance to it. Now, the other thing I do want to point out is the character lines on this vehicle. So my favorite one is this thick one up top that runs all along the side of the car. I think it's very fluid. Now, as you move to the back quarter panel view, one thing I really like is going to be these tail lights. So at night, these things do look really nice. I like the design to it. I think it's just really simplistic. It's not too over the top, and it really fits this car. The other thing I do want to point out is you have this black piece that's going to run all across the bottom right here. It's very interesting looking. Personally, I wish they would have just painted that whole thing red. I think it would have made the rear end of the car look a whole lot better, but it's not a massive deal. Then, of course, as you come to the middle, you're going to have your Jaguar emblem located right there. XE badge over to the left, and then you're going to have your P300 all-wheel drive S. So once you upgrade to the R Dynamic package, it is going to add the P300 badge, and with the R Dynamic you are going to get all-wheel drive standard, and then of course they add the S badge because this does have the upgraded engine as well. So I'll talk about that once again once we get under the hood. Now, you do have these dual centered exhausts right here, well, towards the center exhaust. It sounds pretty okay, so I'll let you guys go ahead and take a listen to that. All right, you guys, so here is the key for the Jaguar XE. Now you're gonna have your unlock, your lock, so of course you can lock it, unlock it with this button. You can hit this to turn on the lights. So I can see the lights right there. And then you can open the trunk with this, hold that. Trunk's gonna open. You can also close it with this button here as well. You're gonna have your panic right there, and it's gonna say Jaguar here in the back, and you have a physical key within here to get into the vehicle if the battery on this dies or if the battery on this were to die. You also have touch sensitive areas on the door that you can put your fingers on top of, and that will lock and unlock the vehicle as well. All right, so hopping inside of the Jaguar XE. Now, coming here to the door, you are going to have a pretty nice use of materials right here. You are going to have some carbon fiber here. I'll get a little bit closer to that and show you that in just a second. But you are going to have some white stitching going right there. Really plush armrest here, so you guys can see it's got a good amount of give to it. Looks really good. This is all going to be softer touch. Soft touch right here. You're gonna have soft touch here, soft touch all up here. So it's really good quality, and here's a better look at that carbon fiber piece here on the door. Looks really good. You've got this aluminum handle right here. Your door lock's gonna be located right there. Your Meridian sound system located right next to that. Another speaker right down here, an area for a bottle, and then a very thin shallow door pocket right here as well. Now, coming off here, you are going to have this R Dynamic door sill, which looks really nice, and the area from here to here is actually pretty large. So if I get a little bit closer here, so I have to literally go over that whole part, so it's pretty big. So stepping over that is very interesting. Of course, Jaguar branded floor mats. Sorry, I'm stumbling all over my words. You're going to have all of your seat controls right here. This is going to be for your thigh extension right there. The leather is really good quality. More stitching going right there. Really supple feel. And then, of course, you have perforations right in the middle. It's going to run all along the middle of the seat. And then you're going to have just a really nice Jaguar located right in the headrest. You guys can barely see it. It's really faint, but it is there and it looks really good. But let's go ahead and hop in and we'll check out the rest of the vehicle. All right, so shutting the door on the Jaguar XE. Not a single rattle. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like the door open and door shut is incredibly solid. More so than you would ever think getting inside of this vehicle. Now here's a quick look at the interior. Start stop button is going to be located right down here, blinking away. Foot on the brake, and you're going to push that to start. All right, so starting with the steering wheel first. Now, you are going to have a beautiful, beautiful steering wheel design. Hold on, let me turn this air down a bit. So once again, starting with the steering wheel, you're going to have perforations here on the side. Smooth leather right there up top. Really beautiful steering wheel design. All aluminum right here. Your R badging right there at the bottom. You have some stitching located right next to that. Looks fantastic. And I love how these buttons illuminate. So when the car is off, you cannot see anything here. It's just all piano black. And then once you turn the car on, then you can see the buttons. And they look really nice. The scroll wheel is really nice. Over here to the right, all of your cruise control settings, heated steering wheel, your lane keep assist, adaptive cruise, all that good stuff. Aluminum piece right here, your Jaguar symbol right there in the middle, more aluminum here. These paddle shifters, guys, these are the most beautiful paddle shifters I've ever seen, and they feel like super high quality. It's like, you can even hear the click. It's got such a thud to it. And they feel incredibly high quality. You do have a little button right down here, so if you guys can see this back here, this is of course how you adjust your steering wheel, and you can twist it to turn your column adjust to automatic, or you can just leave it all the time. So automatic, it will lift up, so that way when you get out, it's easier to get out, or you can turn that off if you choose to do that as well. Now, this gauge cluster is really simplistic. So I have my dial in the middle, but you can go through and change that. So if I click that knob you guys saw to the left, I go to layout, you can change it to a full map, which gives you this look. It's got your speed and stuff down here, you know, time, temperature, fuel. And so it's really interesting. You can change that to multiple layouts on the screen. Go back to one dial, and it's just really easy to read. Now, the system itself is sort of laggy, so I'm not a huge fan of that, but I can go through here and change what I see here on the left side, look at my display, different trip information, driver assist information, media, phone commands, vehicle information, and I can even adjust like my heads-up display through here as well. So it's very nice, and then I have this set up to where I can see all my trip information and things like that. So it's very easy to use, very nice, and it's pretty intuitive. I do like it quite a bit. Now coming over here off to the side, you are going to have your electronic parking brake located right here. Underneath here, if you guys can see, it's pretty dark. You have your interior illumination. It's like a little knob right here. Coming above that, you are going to have another vent, some more stitching, more leather. This entire dash is going to be soft touch leather. Then as you come up, you're going to have more stitching here, more leather. If you guys can see here, you have a speaker right back there for your Meridian sound system. You're going to have your heads-up display right here. So if you guys can see, heads-up display right there, floating away. It is a little bit hard because I'm looking directly onto the ground and it's super bright. Now, you do have a Jaguar logo located right back there, if you guys can see that at all. There we go. Jaguar right there. Now, this entire back piece, so even though this is soft touch, this back piece back here, just listen to this. That's going to be hard touch. That's the only part of the car I felt that's hard touch. Not a huge complaint, but I did notice it, and so I figured I'd mention it. Now, one weird thing is that this leather quality on here is interesting. It's super grainy looking, and it doesn't look very high quality. It feels nice. I don't know. When you look at it in person, though, hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about. But once again, leather's going to cover this entire dash here. More stitching right there. You're going to have your vents right up here. Then as you come here to the touchscreen, you can already see some fingerprints here. You can already see a little bit of dust right up there. But the screen is not my favorite. I complain a lot about Lexus, but this may be just as bad, but in a different way, and let me show you why. Perfect example right here. Look at that lag. It took like 2 seconds just to get anything to happen. I'll do it again. And even if I were to like switch the theme or something. Like, what is going on? And it's not just this car, because when I reviewed the I-Pace, it has the same system and it works just as fast. So that is one big issue, and it really inhibits the user experience in everyday use. It really does. Unless you're at a stoplight, stop sign, you're not going to use it. You do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here as well. You also have really cool things that you can do in here, which is like this dynamic eye, when I can go through, and if I switch to dynamic mode, I can adjust everything to my individual settings. You have a lap timer, you're going to have a G meter, and then you're going to have this to show you your throttle and brake inputs. So if you're on a track and you want to look at a graph to see where your braking points were, where your throttle points were, how hard, how light you braked, how, things like that, you can see that on here. So that is nice. Now there are a few cool things here. So for example, this has a heated windshield. I have never seen a heated windshield. And you can actually see the little grooves in the windshield where it heats it up, and it looks really cool. But don't worry, you cannot notice it when you're driving. Now as far as this, you do have dual zone climate control, as you guys can see here. But if I push this, so you can kind of see that lag happening right there again. There we go. Heated and cooled seats right there. Pull back to access your fan speed. Oop, didn't want to go that high. There we go. So yeah, you do have that right there. Right down here you have a wireless charging pad area, and it's very nice. I do like the way it looks right there. Carbon fiber through this entire middle portion here. You've got your shifter, which looks very nice. Park, slap it into its manual shift mode. And I do like how you actually pull back for your upshift, push forward for your downshift, just like true motorsports. I do enjoy that. Reverse will pull up your backup camera, which is a decent quality backup camera. It looks pretty good. And of course, if I put it back in park, that goes right away. You already saw the start stop. This is how you adjust all of your driving modes. So if I push up, that'll take me through different modes. So if I come back up here, you're gonna have comfort, switch up again, eco, you have rain, ice, snow. And then if I go all the way back down, that is dynamic. And there we go. So that's very simple to use. Right over here, you're going to have your volume, power. You're going to have your traction control, your start stop, which I will talk about that a little bit later. Not a huge fan of it, just because when it does start up, it's very jerky. It's not very refined, so I choose to turn it off all the time. But you can do what you want if you decide to get this car. Then you're going to have this. So what this does, it's kind of like cruise control, but for low speed maneuvers if you're in snow, mud, things like that. It basically takes over your steering and throttle to reverse you or accelerate you out of like a small area. So that is pretty cool to see right there. Now you do have this cover. Pull this cover back. You've got two cup holders, a 12 volt. I've got my key in this little pocket here. Armrest is an interesting shape, so I can fit my arm here. If the passenger wants to fit their arm here, they may have to risk their hand hitting this cup here, or they'll have to go off to the side like that. Either way, it has a pretty decent amount of space. You have two USB ports in here, and you're also going to have another 12 volt in here as well. And it's pretty deep, so I've got a good amount of stuff in there. I've got like my GoPro charging right there, two cords. I've got a set of headphones in there as well. You have a lockable glove box over here, lined in felt so you don't hear everything crashing around. And then you have this mirror, which I love. I think this is super cool. So you pull this back and you have a camera. Now that camera is going to be located on the top of the roof. There's a little fin up there. You guys can actually see the camera lens in there. And it's really nice. So I can actually hit this button here, go through, adjust different things like the brightness. I can adjust the height of it, which is nice. And it's really cool. I love the frameless design. It looks beautiful. As you come up here, you're going to have your maintenance requests here. You're going to have your SOS. You are going to have touch-sensitive lights right up here. So that looks really nice. Of course, full LED. This is going to be for your sunshade. This is going to be to open the actual roof, and then a sunglass holder located right here. Now, beautiful day today. So you guys can see the roof is open. Everything looks gorgeous. So on days like this, it's great to have that. And you're going to have your vanity mirror located right here with an LED light. So pretty much going to be it for the interior. Let's go ahead and check out the back seat. All right, so sitting in the back of the Jaguar XE. Now, there's a decent amount of room. It's definitely not very roomy back here. Sitting behind myself, from 6 feet tall, I've got maybe 1.5 inches as far as knee room is concerned. Now, as far as feet room, my feet can slide underneath easily. Headroom is barely okay. My head is touching right now, and that's with my hair being like squished on top of my head. So if you're above 6 feet tall, you're not going to be comfortable back here at all. You do have a 12 volt back here. You have two 12 volts actually, which I've never seen. You've got a little area here for storage. You're going to have 2 vents right here, a mat pocket. You're also going to have your cup holders located right here. Folds down really nice, really plush, so it's a great area to rest your arm. You're also going to have your 2 cup holders in there, which have these little divots that really hold your cup in place, so that is really nice. And then the hump here in the middle is just way too large. You cannot fit a third person here. I wouldn't even try to fit a third person here. They just won't be comfortable because this is also raised, so you'll have less headroom on top of that. You have LED lights back here. You've got a grab handle, place to put dry cleaning. So it's pretty okay back here, but if you are taller, it's not very accommodating for taller passengers. So let's go ahead and see about trunk space. All right, so coming to the back of the Jaguar, it's very easy to get in. There's a button right under here. You just push that. It is an automated tailgate, so that is nice, or automated trunk. And you do, of course, have a button here to close it as well. So now when you're back here, you have a decent amount of room. I like how it's very low, so getting things in is very easy, and it is pretty wide, so getting things in and out shouldn't be a hassle. You have a few clips off here to the side. These are going to be to put like your groceries on, that way they're not sliding around. You do have a 12 volt back here. You lift this up, you are going to have a spare right back here, and it also has a like red paint on it, which is super random. But if you have a flat tire, that's what you get to drive around with. Now also you can fold the rear seats down as well, and you can do that by pulling these little tabs right underneath here. They're pretty hard to see, but they are bright yellow, so once you look underneath there, you definitely know where they are. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the back. Let's go ahead and check under the hood. Okay, so coming under the hood of the Jaguar XE, so for 2020, like I mentioned earlier, you no longer have a V6, you no longer have a diesel. Your only engine option is this 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. Now, as base, it's gonna make 247 horsepower, but then when you jump up to the R Dynamic, that is going to upgrade your engine, then it's gonna make 296 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Now, in the base version, you get rear-wheel drive as standard. In this version, you get all-wheel drive as standard. So you cannot get this in a rear-wheel drive application. So if you want to have a little bit more fun with the more powerful engine, unfortunately, Jaguar does not let you do that. Both engines are going to be paired with an 8-speed ZF-sourced automatic transmission. So just a torque-converted automatic, but if you know anything about ZF transmissions, they are fantastic transmissions. Now, here are the fuel economy figures you guys can see right here on the screen. And of course, with the base model, you are going to have a little bit better fuel economy, naturally, just because the engine isn't tweaked for higher performance. But let's go ahead, get this thing on the road and see how it does. All right, so driving the 2020 Jaguar XE P300, or R Dynamic S, whichever you want to call it. Also, if you guys are liking this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Really helps me to continue doing these reviews for you guys. So one thing I do want to point out, which just happened, was the start stop. I talked about it earlier, and I said to wait until this part of the review, and I would mention it again. And this is why. It's very unrefined. It's so jerky. So if I come to a stop, you just hear this like brrr, like rattle every time. It's not very good. I turn it off every single time I get into this car because it does not feel very good at all. It's not a good experience. So I just go ahead and turn it off. You guys can, of course, ultimately be the judges of that. And the one thing I was surprised by with this vehicle right from the start, even driving on roads like this, is how much feedback is coming through the steering wheel. You feel like all these little vibrations and tingles, and it's something that even like the BMW 3 Series does not have. This has true feedback. I 100% know what's going on with these tires, and it's such a good experience. Now the chassis on here is fantastic. As you guys will see in just a second, I'm gonna take it around some corners. the chassis handles very, very well. You can throw this thing around pretty hard, and with all-wheel drive, it just makes it that much better. So I am in dynamic mode. Let's go ahead and do a 0 to 60. So very easy to do. I'm gonna slap it over into sport. There's no official launch control, just foot in the brake, floor to the gas, wait till about 3,000, let go. And 60. So it's about a 5.5 second car. It's not very quick at all. Now, once again, for $65,000, you can get a very fast BMW 3 Series, the newest BMW 3 Series with mid 300 horsepower. But the handling on here is what's really impressive. So using the paddles, oh, these P0s grip like nobody's business. Look at that, look at that. What in the world? This is insanity. There wasn't even a peep coming from these tires. It could have gone a little bit harder. Now, because I was using the paddles, let me talk about the paddles real quick. Very disappointed in this ZF transmission. I don't know what it is. Maybe because this isn't a full-on performance vehicle, that they didn't tune this transmission to shift like I'm used to. I've driven many, many vehicles that have this transmission. A Scat Pack Charger, a Trackhawk, Stelvio Quadrifoglio, heck, most BMWs, and they all shift faster than this. Okay, I take that back. It's not that they shift faster. They have a more engaging feel to them. This just doesn't have that moment when you pull the paddle and you feel it just boom, click over into the next gear. It doesn't have that feeling, which when you get behind the wheel of anything that has a ZF transmission, that's usually what you expect. But this has definitely been tuned for everyday driving, and I guess that's understandable. But when you get this package, as of right now, this is the highest performance package that Jaguar offers on the 2020 XE. So I guess for those people that are wanting a little bit more in terms of sportiness, this really isn't going to fully suffice you. The handling is great, the chassis is great. The engine is very non-engaging, whatever you want to call it. It just doesn't have a very good sound to it. A lot of it's piped in. The engine pulls okay. It doesn't ever have a point where it hits you really hard. If you want to hear something crazy, if I have it in normal mode, not dynamic, I get more of a push when I floor it in normal mode. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because the turbo isn't spooled up yet, and you can actually feel whenever the turbo spools up and then kicks in, you feel that more normal than you do in dynamic, because in dynamic it's holding you around 2,500 RPM, and at that point the turbo is pretty much spooled up. I would say that in terms of luxury and comfort, this is incredible. Even with these 20-inch wheels, it just rides so smooth. It's so buttery smooth. Nothing's harsh. It's very quiet in here, and I love the way it drives. Absolutely in love with the way it drives. So much feedback, so much grip. It's great. It's beautiful, it drives great, but the actual engagement really only comes if you live in an area that's got a lot of twisties, that has a lot of turns, because when you take advantage of this chassis, that's when this thing really gets exciting. But if you're just doing straight line stuff, cruising on the highway, it's comfortable, it's great to look at, it's great to be in, seats are comfortable, everything looks beautiful. But once you get to using it, once you get to actually, flooring it, using the paddles, it's just not quite there. And I wish so badly that Jaguar would have just done those few things, because I'm not kidding you guys. If they would have made this interface faster, they would have made this transmission shift faster, if they would have gave this engine a little bit better exhaust note, a little bit better sound just in general, maybe a little bit stronger of, I don't know, a torque band, I just think that this would be what I would choose over the 3 Series. I really do. So let's go ahead and put this in cruise control right now. How about we actually go the speed limit? Okay, so once I'm in cruise control, feels like I'm crawling right now. So once we're in cruise control, everything's pretty good. Now this doesn't have a lane keep assist. In terms of it doesn't have a steering assist. This has lane keep assist, but it only works if you start to get out of your lane. So if I were to get over right now, it'll pull me back in ever so gently and then light up here and vibrate. So it's pretty simplistic. Adaptive cruise works like normal. I love the heads-up display. One thing I don't like is if you're taller and you have to scoot your seat back more, it puts you in this weird area where when I look to my left over my shoulder, all I see is this pillar. Literally, this is what I'm seeing. So if I turn, I just see this huge pillar here, and that's not great. So that does worry me. I do rely on my mirrors quite a bit. I do rely on the blind spot quite a bit. So if you're not comfortable with doing that and you like to just see things yourself, that is going to be an issue for taller people, just because once again you got to sit further back and it puts you closer to this pillar right here. Okay everybody, so driving the 2020 XE at night. So I am way out here in a town called Graham, Texas. Well, I'm actually leaving Graham, Texas right now. It's almost pitch black, zero lights. So this is a good test of the lighting of this vehicle. So if you guys can see the road ahead of me, it's extremely dark, and this has very bright lights even without me having the brights on. The good thing about this is if you live in more rural areas, things like hogs, deer, anything like that, it's easier to see because this lights up more road. Now because there's no other cars coming towards me, if I throw on my brights, you guys can see there, hopefully, it is so bright. And that is one of the best things about these newer cars that have full LED lights. That's why you want full LED lights, especially if you live in areas like this. It's just so helpful, and it's great. It really gives you that peace of mind when you're driving in places that are this dark. Now, if the moon wasn't out, it would be a lot darker. So there's that. Now, looking around the cabin, everything's very well lit. You can probably see my feet down there. The gauge cluster is very easy to read. Heads-up display, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just floating there perfectly, showing me my speed, showing me what the speed limit is. It's great. Sorry, turn my brights off for this guy. Obviously, he didn't turn his brights off for me, though. So my wife is with me, and I know a lot of you guys wanted to hear her opinion. So, honey, in a brief summary, what do you think about this car?
It's meh.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks really cool on the outside, but it's kind of garbage on the inside.
Ooh. Why do you think it's garbage?
I don't know. The thing I hate the most is the screen. It lags so much.
Yeah.
So if I'm driving and I'm trying to do something, I just feel like it'd be really difficult.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty valid point. And I have to agree with that, because in terms of just everyday usability, I mean, I've had this for about 5 days now. I have another 2 days of being with this car, and I never use the screen unless it's on Apple CarPlay. But even then, I don't ever really touch the screen for much. I kind of just let it do its thing and use Siri a lot. And I don't really have to use the interface, but if you do have to use the interface, it's just really difficult. You got to take your eyes off of the road a lot longer than I would personally feel comfortable doing. And it's just, I don't know, it's not the easiest to use. Now, granted, if you own this car, you're definitely going to get used to it, but it's going to take a few weeks. It doesn't have a quick learning curve like almost every other vehicle. Like let's use a BMW for example, the new 3 Series. So even though you have to use the dial, you don't have to really look at it. I can put my hand down here, use the dial, and the screen's a little bit more upright. Now, for those of you that don't like the screens being more upright here, and this is a good instance of when that would actually be more helpful for me. So because I want to stay focused on the road, I got my heads-up display here. If this screen was a little bit higher, I can see it sort of off in my peripherals. All I have to do is turn the brightness down a little bit, then I could use that dial. That's the way the BMW is set up. This, I have to look down, and then because it does lag, I have to pay more attention to it, wait for the screen to come up. So once again, if I push whatever, then it comes up. It's insane. But if you guys like these reviews, be sure to subscribe. I post new videos all the time. Also, be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up. Really helps me, helps the channel, and be sure to turn on that notification bell as well, you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next review. Bye.